so we are on the last page of 506. All right, so tell me something. It says find the lowest possible degree of this polynomial. Could this be a linear function? Start from the bottom and work your way up. Could this be a quadratic function? How do you know this is not quadratic? It would have to be just a U-shaped graph, right? Could it be a cubic function? It could be, because how many x-intercepts are there? 1, 2, 3. How many turning points are there? 1, 2. That fits cubic like a glove, right? Because it has the same number of zeros and one less turning point. So cubic, or if you want to put x cubed. Determine the sign, so that's positive or negative, of the leading coefficient. What does this tell you? Why is it positive? Because the right side is pointing up, right? So the leading coefficient is positive. All right. Find all the x and y intercepts. So let's see. Give me the x-intercepts and give me the y-intercept. So the x-intercepts, -1, -2, -3. So this is -4, -2, -4, -2, and what? +3? All right, and the y-intercept is that -8? All right, I think you can all do that, right? You can look at a graph and find out that those pieces of information. I didn't need a calculator. Now it says determine the factors and their multiplicity. All right, every single one of these x-intercepts cuts through the x-axis, right? So they all have odd multiplicity. All right, so what are the factors? If -4 is one of my x-intercepts, what has to be a factor? X plus 4, right? That's how you take an x-intercept and make it into a factor, right? You treat it like the opposite. All right, and then what about the next one? X plus 2. All right, and what about the next one? X minus 3. So we almost have our equation done for us, right? We know that each of those has a multiplicity of 1. If we throw a y equals in front of it, the only piece that we don't know is how steep this graph is. We call it the A value, the stretch factor. So what I want you to do is write down A in front of the function, because that's the only piece that we need to figure out, is how steep the graph is. There's one point that we did not use, and it's the same point that we used in the projectile equation when you had your catapults. In this case, it's our y-intercept. What's the coordinate of a y-intercept? 0, -8. So what I can do is plug in 0 for all of my x's and plug in -8 as my y value and solve for the A value, the stretch factor. So that's the last step that we haven't really done up until today. We've done all of these other steps, the degree, the x-intercepts, the factors. Here's the new piece that we're adding in, finding the stretch factor by plugging in the y-intercept. So I have -8 equals A times 4, because 0 plus 4 is 4, times 2, because 0 plus 2 is 2, times -3. What is 4 times 2 times -3? -24. So I can divide both sides of the equation by -24 to get A by itself. Does anyone know what -8 over -24 reduces to as a fraction? It is positive 1/3. Didn't we say that the leading coefficient would have to come out positive? So that fits what we predicted. We just didn't know it was the number 1/3 until now. So my final function is 1/3 x plus 4, x plus 2, x minus 3. You just figured out the entire polynomial equation of a graph without needing a calculator. I think that's pretty cool. So that's the process we're going to use on number 2. So you'll have one question that's kind of like this on your quiz on Friday, where you've got to go through some of these rules and write an equation. And then you'll have another question that's like that up that homework 5-4, where you've got the equation and you analyze it and sketch the graph yourself. All right, so this one, we're starting with number 2 now. So what's the lowest possible degree? So I should start with linear. Nope, not linear. Doesn't look quadratic. How do I know that this one's not cubic? Yeah, there's 3 turning points, or you could tell me that, oh, they're both going in the same direction, so it has to be even degree. So could it be x to the 4th? It could, right? 3 turning points and both ends going up. It could be x to the 4th, right? Quartic. It might be x to the 6th even, but the lowest possible degree would be x to the 4th. All right, sign of the leading coefficient. And you know that because the right side is going up. So positive. All right, let's list all of the x and y intercepts. So this is at negative 1, 2, 3. So negative 4, negative 2, and positive 1. X, negative 4, negative 2, positive 1. And what's my y-intercept? Yeah, negative 8. So it shares a lot of things in common with our first example. All right, so then it says determine all linear factors and their multiplicity. What's the multiplicity in this graph that's a little bit different than the first one? It bounces. At which factor? Or at which x-intercept? At negative 2, we've got a bouncing off. So when we write our factors, we've got to take that into consideration. All right, give me your, I have 3 x-intercepts, so I'm going to have 3 factors that I'm going to write down right now. Right, 3 x-intercepts, 3 factors. So x plus 4, right, negative 4 becomes x plus 4. Negative 2 becomes x plus 2 as a factor. And 1 becomes x minus 1 as a factor. Which one do I have to change the multiplicity of? Yeah. X plus 2 needs to have a power of 2, right? Because it's bouncing off at that x-intercept. So our last step is to figure out the a value in front of the function. So y equals a x plus 4, x plus 2 squared, x minus 1. I'm going to plug in the y-intercept, which was at negative 8. So negative 8, and I'm putting in zeros for all my x's. Be careful, because this is going to be 2 squared this time. Even though you're plugging in 0, it's not just the number 2. It's going to be 2 squared. So if I rewrite negative 8 equals a times negative 8, we said was the y-intercept. So the y-intercept's coordinate is 0, negative 8. So I'm plugging in zeros for the x's and negative 8 for the y, so I can solve for the missing variable. So this is really the number 4, because it's 2 squared and negative 1. Yep, because what is 4 times negative 1? That's negative 16. So I'm dividing both sides of the equation by negative 16 to get a by itself. So 1/2 is that a value of the function. So this should be reinforcing what we've done the last couple days. And then this last step is kind of the new piece. How do I get the last equation? So y equals 1/2 x plus 4, x plus 2 squared, x minus 1. If you don't feel like rewriting the equation on these examples, that's fine. If you got a, you know, on the quiz, you can just rewrite the equation if it's too much writing for right now. Does that kind of make sense, how to do it? Do you think you could try one on your own on the next page? So I think the next